Welcome to Car Audio Fabrication, the show that reveals the secrets and mysteries of car audio and teaches you the techniques to take your installs to the next level. I'm your host, Mark. Now, have you ever installed speakers in a vehicle and just been disappointed with the amount of mid-bass that you have in the front doors? Have you been disappointed in the clarity of the highs? Well, today I have a solution for you, and it comes in different forms of sound deadening. Now, many people are familiar with the peel and stick sound deadening that you apply to the sheet metal of the vehicle. But not as many people are familiar with the other products that can be used to also cut down on road noise within the vehicle and improve your bass response. In this video, I'm going to be showing you guys some custom install techniques that we can use in order to make our front doors more like a subwoofer enclosure and thus increase our mid-bass. I'm also going to show you other forms of sound dampening that can be used to cut down on airborne noise and to cut down on vibrating materials within the door panels themselves. So without waiting any longer, let's get to it. Welcome to How to Sound Deaden Your Front Doors. In order to begin sound deadening our doors, we're going to need to remove the interior door panel. The process for this varies from vehicle to vehicle, but you'll want to make sure that you use plastic panel popper tools in order to avoid scratching the interior. Next, we need to remove the factory vapor shield. Now, the vapor shield serves a purpose as it prevents water moisture from getting inside the vehicle. But don't worry, one of the products that we'll be installing will replace this. Now, I also want to point out real quick that this vehicle already has some aftermarket sound dampening material applied on the inner door skin. You can see it here in black. We'll be adding more in a couple of minutes, but just understand that normally at this point the sheet metal would be a clean slate. One of the major problems from a sound standpoint with an OEM door design is this large gaping hole in the door skin. This hole is here so that a mechanic can access the window lift mechanism. But in order to maximize our bass response, we need the door to simulate being an enclosed space, much like a subwoofer box. Therefore, we need to make a cover for this hole. I start with taking note of any bolt locations that I'll want to avoid covering, as well as any moving parts. Next, I mark the locations that I'll be using to make a hole in order to mount the cover. Make sure that you feel behind the panel so that you know that there aren't any wire harnesses in the way. Here I'm using interior protection Tessa tape and applying it to the inner door skin. This and all other materials used in this video are provided in a link in the video description. This Tessa tape gives me a surface to draw on and then plan out the shape of my cover. I also mark out locations for the holes that I had plotted earlier. With our outline made, we can transfer the tape to a piece of 1/4" MDF wood. I cut around the outside perimeter using a sharp knife, and I then also mark out the perimeter using a Sharpie. This is also the time to mark the mounting hole locations. Next, we cut out this shape using a jigsaw. Now, although you could have carefully used the jigsaw to cut perfectly on the line, I'm a bit of a perfectionist and I'm actually going to be using a Mobile Solutions Smart template to make the lines perfect. The Smart templates come in a variety of different shapes and sizes, and they allowed me to make a perfect profile cut using a flush trim bit on the router. I used arcs and large circles for the majority of the shape, and then I used these small circles for the corners. With our shape created, we now drill holes that we'll use for mounting the panel to the door. Back over at the vehicle, we use a Sharpie or a center punch in order to transfer these holes to the sheet metal of the door. Next, we drill the appropriate size hole that we'll use for mounting a threaded insert. I put strips of masking tape on the sheet metal in order to prevent the bit from slipping around. Once again, be aware of what's on the other side of the panel. Make sure that there's no wiring harnesses or glass in the way. You'll also want to be sure that you protect this exposed metal with paint. I find that using touch-up paint from the dealer works best. We've drilled this hole in preparation for a threaded insert, which is basically just a rivet with threads. To apply the threaded insert, we thread it onto our special threaded insert tool's mandrel. We then insert it into the hole and squeeze the tool shut. To finish up, we unthread the mandrel from the threaded insert using this knob on the back of the tool. This leaves us with new mounting locations that we can easily thread an aftermarket fastener into, and it will allow us to mount our cover. If you live in a dry climate, making this piece from wood may be good enough, but if you live in a wet climate, it's important to transfer this shape to a piece of composite material that won't become damaged from water vapor within the door. I've decided to use a 1/4" ABS plastic in order to make my cover piece. This will ensure that this install will last forever, and since I made a test fit piece out of wood first, I didn't waste any valuable plastic material. I use a 1/4" spiral trim flush trim bit in order to copy the wood shape precisely to the piece of plastic. Next, for a more finished look, I'm also chamfering the plastic. Working with plastics on a router is a little bit different than working with MDF, so if you're unfamiliar with it, be sure to subscribe to my channel so that you can see my future video where I'll be showing you how to work with plastics. For a finished touch, I countersink the locations of the bolt holes. Here I'm installing speaker gasketing material to the back side of our new piece because I don't want it to vibrate against our OEM door panel. With all these steps complete, we can now mount our new finished cover. Do note that there is a portion that we left uncovered in order to allow the door mechanism to move back and forth. We'll be addressing this in a few minutes. But for now, we've created a cover that will allow the door cavity to be much more like a subwoofer box would and thus increase your mid-bass. Now we need to move on to applying constraint layer dampener. CLD dampeners prevent vibrations of our doors. This will keep road noise out of the vehicle, and it also prevents us from losing acoustic energy in our music. I'm using one of my favorite products, which is Second Skin's Damplifier Pro. Damplifier Pro weighs in at about 2 mm thick and has a high temperature adhesive that will prevent it from falling off the doors on a hot summer day. We will go more into the science of how this works in a future video, but for now I just want to focus on the installation. I use rubbing alcohol in order to clean the factory sheet metal. This is a very important step in order to ensure the maximum bond. I had already covered about 25% of the door panel with the sound dampener in the past. My goal now is about 75% coverage. In order to work around door panel features, I'll use the clear Tessa tape and draw an outline. I then transfer this outline to the dampening material and cut it using a razor blade. You'll want to use a technique like this in order to avoid covering any mounting holes that are used for mounting the door panel. Use a wooden roller in order to stick the piece onto the door. Using these techniques carefully will allow you to cover the whole interior door skin. You will also want to apply several layers on the inside of the outer sheet metal. This space is typically more open and easier to do, and you'll really want to focus on having a lot behind the speaker itself. Remember that hole for the door opening mechanism that I mentioned earlier? Well, we need to still cover it up. To accomplish this task, we're using Luxury Liner that's also from Second Skin. Luxury Liner is a mass-loaded vinyl product that cuts down on airborne noise. It's perfect for this application because it's flexible, so I don't have to worry about it hampering the movement of the door mechanism. In order to mount it, I use 1/4" wide double-sided stick Tessa tape. You can see it in the frame in the lower right-hand corner. We have now effectively sealed this cavity. In preparation for more sound deadening treatment, we now cover the whole interior door skin with the green clear Tessa tape. The plan is to once again use this in order to transfer holes to our next piece of sound deadening. I make slits in the Tessa tape for the door panel clips and then apply the door panel. This allows me to carefully trace its outline onto the Tessa tape as well. I then remove the door panel and carefully remove the Tessa tape as one large piece. I transfer this piece and stick it atop a piece of Luxury Liner Pro. Luxury Liner Pro is mass-loaded vinyl, but it also has a foam layer. This material is extremely heavy and it definitely cuts down on any airborne noise. I use a sharp razor blade in order to cut out all the material as needed. You can see here that I've made holes for the mounting clip locations, any moving parts, and even the speaker and wiring harnesses. Luxury Liner Pro doesn't have to be adhered to the entire surface in order to work effectively. It merely needs to cover the entire surface. Therefore, in order to mount the Luxury Liner, I'm using this industrial strength Velcro. This Velcro has a very strong adhesive and can be cut as needed. I use a wooden roller in order to ensure that the Velcro adhesive has bonded with the back side of the Luxury Liner and with the door. Using Velcro in this manner allows me to easily access the inside of the door if need be. I transfer the Luxury Liner Pro to the inside of the plastic door panel in order to make any final modifications for fitment. The Luxury Liner Pro is fairly thick, so it may take a few tries before you're able to get the fitment correct. Now that we've prevented loss of acoustical energy and also cut down on airborne noise, we want to turn our attention to preventing any vibrations. I've found that my door panel mounting clips can lead to vibration noises. To prevent this, I wrap them with cloth Tessa tape. This is a difference that you can really hear. I will use this technique anywhere that clips come in contact with plastic. To prevent vibration of wires against the inside of the plastic door panel, I'll first apply a layer of Damplifier Pro. I will then follow up with a layer of Second Skin's Overkill product. Overkill is a closed cell foam that also cuts down on airborne noise much like Luxury Liner, but it also prevents materials from vibrating against one another by decoupling them. In order to mount the overkill, you can use spray adhesive or you can also use double-sided sticky tape. With our sound deadening process complete, I turned on a very bass-heavy song and was astonished how much more mid-bass was coming from the front speakers. Not only that, once I reinstalled the door panels and took the car out for a drive, it was incredible how much more quiet the interior of the vehicle is. I can't wait to show you guys in a future video additional sound deadening throughout the vehicle. Even better yet, if you would like to try your hand at sound deadening, Second Skin is offering a limited time offer for CAF fans. In order to get the coupon code, use the link in the video description. The deal won't last long though, so be sure to check it out quickly. Thank you again for watching this video. If you'd like to check out more of our how-to videos, take a look at our channel or click one of the videos on screen. All in all, this video took about 26 hours to shoot and edit, so if you feel that this video helped you learn something new, it would really mean a lot to me if you just take 0.2 seconds and slam that like button or share this with a friend. Thank you. If you would like to learn more about how you can join me and help me in making these videos and become a part of the CAF team, be sure to click the link down below. A special thanks to Emmanuel Valletta, Richard Fink, Mark Brasil, Truman, Christopher Martinson, Jerry Gibson, and Jason Marble, along with all the other Patreon supporters that are already a part of the team. Thank you.